Be ready. 15 seconds. It gives me special pleasure to be here at this meeting. I must say that I was very much attracted by the name of this organization when I first heard of it, because it is something which at this moment of our development we are very much in need of. Enterprise is perhaps the greatest of our national needs. Enterprise in agriculture, in industry, in science, and even in matters of civic initiative in combating social evils such as communal friction and other types of frictions and tensions which arise from time to time, which threaten our unity, which threaten our progress, and sometimes threaten even our very survival. This is hardly the place to dwell on some of these tensions, although they have a very vital bearing on the progress of our industry. In today's society, in today's changing society, the new elite are the entrepreneurs and the technologists, and in the situation which exists in our country, these two have a very special responsibility to society. As you have rightly mentioned in your address, this is not only in the interest, in the patriotic interest of the welfare of larger sections of the people, but looking at the question from a very narrow practical point of view also. It is in the interest of all that one should take a stand on the issues and work for the solution of these problems, because these tendencies, whether it is the communal tendency considering one citizen big merely because of his religion to be more patriotic than all others, denying people the right to live where they want to in the country or to work where they want to, weaken the fabric of the nation. No industry can prosper and no development can take place unless there exists the proper atmosphere, the atmosphere of unity and of working together. As you know, we have made tremendous progress in industry since our independence, but we have come to a stage when industry needs a special push. Not that we want to lessen the importance of agriculture, because our very lives are dependent on it, and industry itself is dependent on agricultural progress. We cannot make history by repeating the experiences of others. We have to be willing to forge out our own path, make our one mistake and learn from our own mistakes, and from the mistakes go on to achievements. In India, we have taken the socialist path. Our socialism does not envisages choking of private initiative. In fact, we have stood and we do stand now for a mixed economy in which both the public and the private sector are active. We do not want the state to do everything, because apart from this not being possible, the state is not able to undertake everything. It is also not desirable for the state to do everything. What then is our socialism? It means that the state takes upon itself the responsibility for wiping out poverty for initiating steps which will increase production, for modernizing our economy by establishing key modern industries, for enforcing social purpose in all economic activities, for reducing disparities and setting right the historic inequalities between different classes and different regions, and in particular for checking and preventing the growth of monopoly. Now, all these are the responsibility of the state, but they are also the responsibility of industry and of all those who are interested in the growth of the nation. As I said just a short while ago at another meeting in the city, that whatever steps we are taking now or whatever steps we may take are all not with a view to trying to fit into a particular policy or a particular ideology. The policy and the ideology itself are made for very practical reasons and to meet the needs of the people. It is when social disparities increase that we have social tensions. It is when there is social tension that problems of law and order and instability and insecurity arise. So, these problems of inequalities, of disparities, of meeting the rising expectations of the people are all too very much a part of the industrial scene, and unless we can deal with them, we cannot even advance industrially. This task, which is so enormous, cannot be accomplished unless everyone, every section does play its part. We have the problem of educated unemployment. It has arisen partly because our industrial development and other development projects have not been able to keep pace with the rising number of educated young people. Another reason, though small, is that many of our educated young people wish to have only a particular type of job. They would like to work in particular places and cities rather than in villages, on the mainland rather than on remote islands or in the hills. So, we have a situation where we have areas in India which are in need of engineers, of doctors, of mechanics, and many other such specialized people. This lead to new problems of unemployment in the country. May I refer briefly to the question of the states reorganization which has been discussed here during the last 4 days. I have been greatly distressed about much that has happened. It has caused me much unhappiness and produced in me a sense of failure which I do not often have. However, what was worried me and distressed me most is not so much the actual occurrences as the growth of a spirit of violence all over the country, or at any rate in parts of it. The attempt to settle problems by violent methods is, I think, very bad for this country, regardless of the merits of any cause. Once you enter the region of trying to settle problems by violent methods, you go towards something that is perilously near to civil war. Our country, with all its faults, has shown to the world a certain stability certain peace, a certain measure of progress, and thereby established a certain reputation. This reputation is based on some fundamental characteristics. If we enter the region of violent explosions simply because dislike this thing or that, then we lose not only our reputation but something much more important than that.